On today's video, we're going to be working on a toilet that is leaking. And whenever you're looking for a leak on a toilet, there's many different areas where the leak can be coming from. So you want to do is you want to go underneath the toilet and look underneath where the bolts are, where the gasket is, and then you want to flush the toilet to see if any water comes out. So right now I'm going to flush the toilet and I'm going to see if I can find any water. We saw where the water is coming from, so we're going to turn the water supply off to the toilet. I'm going to remove the top of the toilet tank. Flush the toilet to remove any water that is inside of your tank. You won't be able to remove all of it, but you want to remove as much as you can. No water should be coming out of your hose. If there is water coming out of this hose, then that means your supply line, your angle stop, is still allowing water to shoot up into your fill valve. We are going to have to remove this nut and bolt. The issue I can see is the gasket, but you can also see that these are starting to corrode. So at some point they're going to have to be replaced anyway. Once you ensure the water's off, go ahead and remove your supply line. A little bit of water will drip out, so you want to have a towel ready. Once you start to loosen the bolt and the nut, water is going to start leaking. So make sure you have a rag or a towel available to capture all the water. If you're having problems removing the screw using just your crescent wrench, what you want to do is get a pair of vice grips and you want to clamp onto the top of your bolt and then go ahead and loosen the nut at the bottom. Once you remove both bolts, go ahead and pick the tank up and remove it out. So here we have the toilet tank out, and this is kind of a side bird's eye view, and you can really see just the calcium deposit inside of your tank. And what I like to do is whenever I'm in a situation where I have to remove the bolts, I will at the same time replace the flush valve, because if you look here inside, you can see that it's already starting to just calcify. I'll also replace the fill valve as well. You can see all these little bits right here. Eventually what will happen is it will contaminate and get inside the fill valve and cause corrosion. So for me, I just like to get into the habit of, if I'm pulling out the bolts and I'm replacing the gasket, I like to replace everything inside at the same time. At least you know once you finish, you won't have to worry about any other components failing. I'm also going to replace the vinyl supply line for a braided stainless steel. First thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the flapper from the toilet handle. Now we're going to remove the toilet handle. You can see here the corrosion up close. Next we're going to remove the fill valve. You have the clip right here. You're going to push that up and that will allow you to remove your fill valve. If you turn the toilet tank around, you can see this is the gasket. It was starting to leak just because of the deterioration. You can see right there when you get nice and close. You can see all the calcium buildup. Once this starts to harden, that's what allows the water to start to seep through when you flush the toilet. Now we're going to remove our flush valve. And this is going to be probably the most difficult part. You kind of have two options. You can take a hammer, put a screwdriver and slowly tap it, and this will loosen. If for some reason you're having a hard time, you can crack it, but you want to be very careful that you don't hit your toilet tank. I tapped it with my hammer and you can see it will remove nice and easily. Once you loosen the nut, the flush valve will pull right out. Now we're going to remove the base of our fill valve. Again, this just removes simply by untightening it. It will pull out as well. At this point, we've stripped the toilet tank bare, and now what we're going to do is we're going to clean the inside. I usually like to take it inside of a tub and kind of wipe it down. When you put on your new components, you don't want to have any of this residue. So this is the inside. Again, this is really just discoloration. If you touch it, the surface is nice and soft. I do have a trick that I had a mentor show me when I first started in the industry. This is sandpaper, and you can gently like scrape it. Don't be too abrasive, just very gently touch it, and it'll remove any contaminants from the surface of your toilet. Again, this is just staining. If you run your finger across, there's nothing abrasive on there. So when we put our new gasket on there, it'll be nice and flush. So we already have this area open. We're gonna go ahead and remove our old toilet supply line. And we're gonna put our new one in. Here I have everything. This is going to be my new gasket. It also comes with a set of bolts. This is going to be my flush valve, and this is going to be my fill valve. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put in our bolts and secure them. Put our bolts in. You're going to have your washer and then your gasket, and you're going to put it flush against the bolt, and you're going to feed it to the other side. One more time, washer, gasket. On the other end, we're going to put our gasket, our washer, and then secure it with our nut. Right now, we're just going to hand tighten it. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Gasket, washer, nut. Now we're just hand tightening it. Now before we tighten it, we want to make sure that the gasket is even all the way around. You don't want it to be lopsided more to one side or the other. Once you hand tighten it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a big screwdriver. I'll hold the head right here, and then on the back, I will put this and secure it to the nut. And then I'll just basically turn it 1.5 times. You don't want to over tighten this. Once you tighten both sides, we'll go ahead and we will install our flush valve. The new flush valve, I did have to cut off the top about 1.25 inches. This is just going to allow you to sit your flush valve inside of your toilet and just allow your fill valve and the hose to go over the top. Now we're going to tighten the nut on our fill valve. You're going to have to hold the inside and then tighten the outside at the same time. You tighten it, use a big pair of channel locks, just go around the nut. You don't have to over torque it, just nice and snug will be fine. Now we're going to install our fill valve. I'm going to pull the clip back. Remove the clip, you can go ahead and pull the base out. Now we're going to put the base of our fill valve, we're going to push it through, make sure the gasket is facing you, and then we're going to, at the bottom, tighten it with the nut. Again, just hand tighten will be fine. You don't want to over torque it. You don't want to apply too much pressure because you may crack the nut. We're going to push in our fill valve. You don't want to go too down. You don't want to go too up. See at the bottom I have it like 2 clicks away. And now we're going to push the nut down and secure the fill valve. Just give it a nice tug. Make sure it doesn't move. You also want to make sure when you're putting in your fill valve that the hose is going to be able to face the flush valve. Here we put our toilet handle in. We've made our connection to our flapper. I did have to cut a little bit of the link And you just want to make sure that when you flush it, that you have enough play for the toilet. So right now we're going to just dry flush it. You can see once I pull it up, the flapper comes up, and then the water will pull the flapper down. Installing your handle and your link for your flapper is going to vary depending on what type of model you buy. The concept, however, is still going to remain the same. At this point, we just have our gasket and our 2 butterfly nuts. Here we're just going to put our toilet to tank gasket on. Just make sure it's nice and flush. Now we're just going to sit the toilet in place. We're going to secure it at the bottom using our butterfly nuts. When I'm tightening the butterfly nuts, I use both hands and I tighten it at the same time. I don't want to tighten one side too much and then go to the other side. Just using hands on each side allows me to just make sure it's nice and even. Once you tighten it, you just want to gently tug. You don't want to see any play. You just want to make sure it sits nice and even. Once we're finished, we're just going to secure our toilet supply line to the base of our fill valve. We're going to install our hose clip. This just slides right in between the top of the flush valve. Now we're going to install our hose right over the tip of the fill valve where the water comes out. We'll connect it to the top of our clip where the water will pour into the flush valve. Again, while you're doing this, you don't want to apply too much pressure. This flush valve is plastic. Once you finish, go ahead and turn the water on. Once your toilet tank fills up, you'll want to do the same process we did at the beginning. You'll want to check the bottom, and when you're looking at the bottom, you'll want to flush the toilet at the same time. Except this time, now that we put everything new, I generally like to do this method 3 times before I complete the job. So this is going to be flush number 1, and I'm just looking for any leaks around the bolts or the gasket. If this video was a help, if it was informational, please subscribe.